Speaking of Netflix movies that we watched during quarantine, we finally got a chance to sit down and watch Spenser Confidential, the new Mark Wahlberg movie. And Jude, why don't you set this up for us? What was that movie all about?
So I saw the trailer for this, and I just like Mark Wahlberg. He's always entertaining to me, and even if it's not a great movie, I'll still watch something that he's in just because I feel like he's entertaining. So I tried to get Matt on board with it. I finally did. I'm sorry, Kadish.
I'm not a big Mark Wahlberg fan. Like, I like the idea of Mark Wahlberg more than I like his actual acting. So like when I see him in a movie, it's not a draw for me. It's actually something where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to watch a Mark Wahlberg film. All
right, Jude. So what's this Mark Wahlberg movie about?
So basically it's about Spenser. He's from Boston. He was a former police officer. Ended up going to prison for 5 years for beating up his captain?
Sergeant.
Went to prison. On his last day in prison, there's like a hit out on him. This dude through the whole movie takes like life-ending blows throughout the movie, and he just gets up and walks away.
He's immune to knives.
He gets a shank in the kidney on his he gets a shank in the kidney on his last day in prison, and he just like
walks it off.
Yeah, he walks it off. He fights off like four other dudes. They made a joke
about it too. They were like, "I got you, man." Like he played tag with him or something.
Post Malone is like, "Hey, check out that shank in your side." He's like, "Oh shit. Yeah, you're right, man. There is a shank in my side." He just like goes home.
It's on my liver.
Didn't need that.
Yeah, it was like right in the kidney.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, "Oh, it's fine."
Mm-hmm. He pulls it out. No blood comes out.
Yeah.
Pancreas. I don't need that anymore.
He gets macheted like in his stomach at one point. Still keeps fighting. He's like leaping over buildings.
Friggin' badass.
Yeah. So Spenser gets out of prison, and he apparently is this guy who just like he sees a wrong that needs to be righted, and he has to go and right the wrong. The most hilarious part in this movie is his ex-girlfriend.
Oh my God,
who's a crazy person.
Freaking love her.
Played by Eliza Schlesinger. Yeah, she's hilarious.
She was the standout.
She was freaking so funny.
Yeah. Every time there would be like a lull in the movie, Kadish and I were watching this together, and one of us would be like, kind of missing the girlfriend right now. 2 seconds later, she'd show up and we'd be like, huzzah!
You're like, yes.
Yeah.
Like she was fantastic.
She would just come on screen and like trash a car or something. And we'd be like, I just needed that.
She just throws a wrench in the whole thing. I love it. It's so funny. And her personality just... Nobody talks shit to her. She goes up against these big time gangsters and
she walks into the middle of a standoff and she's like, "Put that machete away. What do you work at a Brazilian meat market or something?"
It's so freaking funny.
And she just like goes and gets their kidnap victims. She's like, "This is how you treat people, really?"
And when I lived in Boston, like I knew girls like that. Yeah. Like that's not like an exaggeration.
No, it's not. There are people. Yeah, absolutely.
Makes me never want to move there.
But her introduction is like she's throwing all of Spenser's shit out of their apartment.
I freaking love you.
She's like, "I love you so much," and she's like destroying all of his shit. It was hilarious.
I love you. How do you like this?
Because he's going to jail, and she wants to have him at home, and he's like, "I can't believe you turned yourself in, you stupid piece of crap. I love you so much." And she's just like trashing all of his stuff.
Yeah.
This is by far the best character in the show. Anyway, continue.
So,
go ahead.
I mean, that's the moral of the story. He's like that guy that gets involved in stuff that's not his business, and he has to go and right the wrong. And that was basically the gist of the entire movie.
There's a little bit of a mystery, detective kind of thing going on.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched it, because I feel like it's worth a watch.
But
this was
I called it 2 minutes into the movie.
Again, the woman is speaking. So I don't think that this was by any means like a mind-blowing film, but I think it was hilarious and definitely worth the watch.
Right on. I did enjoy it too. I think my absolute favorite part, I was kind of on the fence. I'm kind of with Matt. Like, Mark Wahlberg's really cool. I like his movies typically. I think my favorite movie that he's ever done is probably Four Brothers. It was a fantastic film.
You didn't like Transformers: Age of Ultron?
No. I don't even think I saw his Transformers movie. But when I was watching this, I was kind of like on the fence about it. Kind of. And then the girlfriend popped in and I was like, okay, it's getting better. And then the detective story kind of started evolving and I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting into this more. And then there was a moment where this movie freaking hooked me and it was the Batman reference. I freaking
that was so funny.
I died laughing.
He's got like this.
Like, you're freaking Batman. Here's your freaking outfit and here's Robin. The guy's like, I'm not Robin.
This big giant dude.
He's got this sidekick through the movie. His name is Hawk.
Nice.
Robin, who's like training to be like an MMA fighter the whole time, and Spenser's like teaching him how to throw a real punch. Like he's a big dude and he can fight, but he can't really like throw a good punch like to knock a man out. And like at the end fight scene, he like takes on these like 4 or 5 gangsters,
4 dudes,
and he just like nails this dude. And Spenser's on the ground with like a fucking machete. And he's like, "That's how you throw a punch." It was so funny.
That's called a character arc.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, the setup for his sidekick character, Hawk, I didn't realize that was his name. That's pretty funny.
Oh, he had a name?
Yeah.
Hawk.
I didn't know he had a name.
Remember, he was like
I
Hawk.
thought he was this big black dude.
He said Hawk is the name of a man with a shotgun. Spenser is the guy that does your taxes. He's like, I want the shotgun. He was like, yeah, that's fair.
I just like broke him.
Oh, I don't know. I'm on the fence of whether or not I'm going to have to edit that out. Oh, man. Anyway, so yeah, I that Batman reference just broke me. Like that movie, I was like sold. I love this movie now.
Great.
Because it was so true and it was like so on point and the girlfriend totally called it and everybody was like all offended and then they started thinking about it and they're like, yeah. You're driving around in the friggin' Batmobile.
Yeah.
He's like, you're an enabler. You gave him the keys to the Batmobile. He's like,
Enabling Alfred.
yeah.
It was so funny.
What is the kind of car?
Was it a Lincoln?
Yeah.
I just think it was a Lincoln.
He's like,
Just one of those big boat cars.
My Lincoln is in a Batmobile.
She's like, it serves the same purpose.
All I know is I was just really happy when we decided to watch this because you said something in chat about it. And I had already seen it.
Oh, really?
I was super happy. I was
Nice.
like, all right, I get to watch a bad movie that Alex wants us to watch, but I've already seen this bad movie. So it was cool.
Were you
He's
pleasantly
like, so
surprised?
I can just day drink.
I didn't like it that
Really?
much. Yeah, it was okay.
What was it about it? That
I don't
you
know. It was a Donnie or Mark Wahlberg movie, and you know how many of those are that great? It was
really good.
for a Netflix movie. It's what I expected. It was fine. I didn't have any huge complaints about it. And again, it was a good way to kill 2 hours in the middle of our quarantine. I would never in a million years spend more money to go see this movie.
You wouldn't see it in theaters?
No.
Maybe
Not
that
a
should be
chance.
the new gauge for Netflix movies.
Yeah,
That should be our new. I
But,
don't know. Tell me what the word
it was
is.
it was a good time waster. My wife enjoyed it.
Yeah.
She was the one that wanted to watch it.
Oh, right on.
If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have seen it.
Nice shirtless Mark Wahlberg walking around the hallways for a little,
I guess.
couple of minutes.
Yeah, whatever.
Anything else? Anybody have any other comments about this movie?
I have lots of comments
I
about it.
haven't even asked you yet. Yeah, go ahead, Kadish. What's up?
This
Everyone
movie,
get comfortable.
this movie was way better than I thought it was.
Remember, we
going
have
to be.
time limits on the YouTube segments. Okay.
So, ironically enough, this movie, it's based on a series of novels. There's like 50 plus novels in this series by Robert B. Parker. And it's basically, about Spenser, who's a private eye. And the 80s TV show Spenser For Hire was also based on these books. So
Do you remember who was the main character in that? I was trying to think
Robert
of it this
Guillaume.
morning. Okay.
I don't remember exactly who played Spenser in the TV show, but Avery Brooks, Commander Sisko, played Hawk in Spenser.
Oh,
For
really?
Hire. Yeah.
He just told you who the actor was from the first one.
Okay. Well, I don't listen to Vader, so. Yeah. So
This fucking guy. I swear to God.
so Avery Brooks was kind of
love
like
you guys.
Hawk was like his breakout character. He actually got spun off into his own series briefly in the 80s.
And Captain Sisko.
Captain Sisko, yes. And this movie was based off the book Wonderland by Ace Atkins, who kind of took over the book series after the original author died. And this was a movie that was kind of produced and directed by Peter Berg, who's done like the last 4 Mark Wahlberg movies. And he also is, I think, Wahlberg's producing partner on a couple HBO shows and stuff like that. And one of the interesting things that I found about this movie was that it was written by Brian Helgeland, who was Oscar-winning screenwriter for LA Confidential. He also did A Knight's Tale, the Heath Ledger movie, and my favorite Mel Gibson, one of my favorite Mel Gibson movies, Payback.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, and this definitely had some Payback vibes to it. And interestingly enough, this movie, Alex, you might be interested to learn about this. It's produced by Neil Moritz. He was the guy who kind of optioned the books and got the ball rolling on this. And Neil Moritz is the guy who brought Sonic to the big screen.
Oh, right on.
And he's also a Fast and Furious producer and stuff like that. So one of the interesting things I really liked about this movie was that it's very much a private eye kind of like mystery. It almost felt like Jack Reacher at some points to me because he's a boxer, so he can naturally like defend himself and get into fights. But one of the things that Jude and I noticed during the movie is he tends to get his butt kicked a lot. And they actually kind of reference this in the movie where it's like, when you come out with having gotten your ass kicked, you always have some new information. But I don't think that's a very good strategy. And his the characters in this film I thought were all really good. Apparently they're very different from how they are in the book. And I never watched the original TV show, and so I know like this kind of veered away from a lot of that stuff. So, but at the end of the day, I felt like this was a very solid movie. It was a good mystery. I liked the characters. I felt like the humor really landed in a lot of moments, and I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
I don't know, man. I thought it was super predictable. I know exactly who the bad guy was as soon as he came and visited him when he got out of jail.
I did. Yeah. I don't want to ruin it, but I pointed out to Jude, I was like, this guy always plays a bad guy.
And then wait a second. And the big black guy, that was Hawk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From Spenser For Hire.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
And it was Robert Guillaume, by the way. Ass. Okay.
Awesome.
Whose idea was it to have them sit next to each other?
They're going to start trading blows.
Is he done talking yet?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to wake up now.
Salt on that side of the table. That's fantastic. This is great banter. All right. Does anybody have anything else? Are we just all pretty much across the board pretty happy with this movie?
Yeah,
I liked it.
I really liked it.
Would you recommend it?
I would definitely
recommended
recommend
Netflix watch.
Yeah, sure.
Recommended Netflix watch.
Certainly, sir.
Recommended.
Good time
recommended.
waster. Netflix is killing it this week.
I do want to address something that you said, though. You said that it's good for a Netflix movie. Why is our standard for Netflix so low that we're surprised when something decent
you
comes
can watch it on TV.
Well,
That's all?
That's it.
Also, their
much.
movies have been really bad. Like, you remember Bright, the Will Smith movie?
Yeah.
That was terrible. And that was like a $90 million movie.
What was
great.
what was the one where it was like Shadowrun online in the movie, like with the orcs and the goblins? And
That was
stuff?
Bright.
Oh, was that Bright? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was. That was, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bird Box was okay.
I hated
that movie.
Hated that movie.
Did not like that movie.
But basically, Netflix doesn't have a good track record of original movies. That's why I was surprised that that these two original Netflix movies were actually like really good, in my opinion.
We hit the gold mine on this
Maybe
one.
they're up in their game.
Maybe. That's quite possible. I mean, they do
They're
have
getting some star power behind their stuff. So,
And I do like the fact that they're taking chances on movies like Code 8 with very limited budget.
There's also The Irishman.
And that's the thing that's cool about
Irishman.
Netflix to me is that Netflix allows these people who have these pet projects like Code 8 the ability to make them and has a way to distribute them without having to go through the whole theatrical release nonsense. And, Netflix is good for that.
I think Code 8 was one of those movies that they bought and then slapped a Netflix original on it because they do that with TV shows too, where they'll acquire like a foreign TV show and say it's a Netflix original, even though like it was produced completely outside of Netflix.
Is that kind of what they do with Peaky Blinders, right? Do they slap a Netflix original on that?
They do. Peaky Blinders is produced by the BBC.
Yeah.
But because Netflix airs it in America,
they claim it as theirs.
They claim it as an
makes
original.
sense.
Price of Reason in the chat.
What's up, Price?
He's making a distinction of Netflix as like the direct to DVD market.
Oh, okay.
And that's a good analogy,
Accurate.
I think. It's very accurate.
That is accurate.
With a much bigger budget.
Yeah.
Because I think Spenser Confidential, first of all, they're intending it to be its own new franchise, so they want sequels.
I kind of hope it is.
I liked at the end of the movie where they were just like LOBSTAH.
I want you to take me for a lobster. You gonna eat it? No, I'm gonna smash it in your face.
Of course I'm going to eat it. What do you think I'm going to do? I love her character. She's so funny. All right, go ahead.
But just like, they actually have the words LOBSTAH spelled with an H on the screen. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, when it first started, Matt or Kadish hates everything Boston. And when it first started, I was like, oh, you're going to hate this movie. But by the end, it was just so over the top Boston that we were both like riotously laughing.
That's awesome. I lived in Boston for a while and I did not like that city.
It's so wicked cool.
Wicked cool. I used to say that.
Olin Harvard Yard.
I used to say wicked all the time when I was young.
To be fair, Kadish hates most things, but
so do I. Oh, that's all right, though.
He hates Boston with a special flavor of salt.
I grew up an hour away
Boston
from that place.
and New York, I don't care for. But the movie itself was surprisingly good, and I was actually shocked that both Netflix original movies that we watched back to back, essentially, I liked.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
I wasn't either.
When you go 2 for 2 on a Netflix binge, you're good. It's a good place to stop.
Right on.
Gotta go for the hat trick.